Hey there, chart friends. Lamont here from Chart Guys, checking in with the solar sector. So, starting off with our ETF 10, as we know by now, we are entertaining the idea of this daily bull flag, which today was showing the first signs of trying to confirm. And by that, all I mean is the range of the flag, right? Because flags are typically channels. Ideally, they're channels. Oh, right. There it is. Ideally, they're channels. So if we zoom into the hourly time frame, which we can do right now, we can see that the bulls are attempting to break out of this channel. I think maybe it's easier to see on the 15-minute time frame. If you're wondering how this is drawn, I just wanted to include all of these closes here. And there's a little floating close over there. I know there's not much volume on it, but obviously it's offering a decent structure to work with. I wonder if this is a bit busy. Turn off some of it. Going straight price action. Okay, so as you can see right here, we tested the bottom of the channel 2 times, gave it one more test in PM, and then ripped to the top of the channel. And if you're not familiar with why my channel has these bands, this is the median line, and then these two bars on either side of the median line includes all of the data that's one standard deviation from the mean, and then these little thinner bars between the yellow and the white lines are 2 standard deviations, and then the third little thin band is 3. So I like to use it as a bit of a clue, because if you have price just constantly grind in here, then typically it's a good sign that bulls are attempting a breakout, or if it's down here, then that bears are attempting a breakout. The more time that we spend in here and just kind of reject but print a higher low and come back and grind, the more conviction I have of a potential breakout. But that being said, you can always make a higher low play after the breakout, right? So you use the channel structure to give you a framework of the trade, and when you see this move, for example, that breaks out, very often we're going to get a back test. And the back test, ideally, it should print a higher low compared to these previous lows. So if you were to formulate a trade plan around that, let's say you see this breakout and you are mindful of a higher low, knowing that there's been a bunch of price congestion here and you want a low above this one, maybe you scale in like so. And then you just target potentially a lower high, right, off of that previous high for profit taking, initial profit taking, which already gives you pretty good RR. And then you can hold the rest with your stop under this hourly low, assuming that the trend will maintain so that we can see daily follow through. So that is potentially on the table now. Any late bulls are just waiting for another higher low opportunity, but an hourly higher low opportunity, I should say. That being said, this is not terribly convincing follow through yet at the moment. Let's see. You know what? That looks like a bit of a local channel. Yes. So we got channels and channels here. If we can mark it off like so, now we can use this little local channel as a bit of a guide. And I can already see a little outlier there, so I'm just gonna drag it down to include him. She, the pancake. I'm gonna include that. Okay, so we'll have this channel on watch going into tomorrow. I don't mind bottom fishing the channel if we can get, let's see, actually. I do not mind, yeah, I don't mind bottom fishing this channel if we can get 5-minute oversold conditions to potentially look for another higher low, but ideally the bulls will start off strong tomorrow before pulling back to attempt that higher low, just making as much space as possible. All right, and if we were to confirm that hourly, to get more follow through on that hourly bull trend, then we are anticipating a potential confirmation of the bull flag. Let's see what the key resistances are. The key resistances are, and I'm not going to consider these for the key resistances just because there's not enough volume in after hours. So I'd say 76.36 is the next major resistance that the bulls are looking up at. ORA finally starting some daily consolidation today, held up really well while most of the sector was consolidating. Now is finally starting its consolidation. You can see TAN has been consolidating for just about a week now, whereas ORA really just started today by breaking the previous day's low. So let's see. I want to check out some levels to the left here. All right. So now we're just looking for that healthy daily higher low. It just does not strike me as much as of a bull flag as many of these other names. ORA kind of just does. It's very different on the macro scale too. If you're new to the channel or to these videos, you can see that ORA is very different from TAN or JKS. These charts are CSIQ, the all-time high. We'll see. CSIQ is one of the choppy names, but basically most of the solar names that are getting a lot of attention look like this. Like that. Big all-time high bulls. Whereas ORA has had this basing for a long time. So, bit of a different setup. Alright, so now that we're looking for a healthy daily higher low, you're probably wondering, well, where can we look? Where might we start doing our shopping? And for me, personally, I just like to do my daily higher low shopping in hourly oversold conditions. So I'll just use my handy dandy indicator to start seeing where that might be. Okay, around $68. I actually skipped a step. Usually I like to draw a fib retracement. I'm just going to default to this lowest low here. It's not a big deal. You just use it as estimation anyway, right? It's really a game of estimation. It's like poker, right? Trading is a lot like poker. You never really know what the other player has, but you have to play to probabilities. That's all you can do. So let's see here. Something like this, I would not mind. And what I like to do is I will mark off my zone of interest on the time frame lower, plan out a proposed trade, potential trade. I'm looking for this -236. Then I will zoom out and look on the daily time frame to see if that is reasonable at all. And I would say yes. Where'd that shelf go? Anyway, I would say yes if we were to get daily oversold heading back into all of this previous chop. All right, you can see it's kind of like divided by two levels. You have this lower level here with top here, top, 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 and then this kind of upper level here, right? So obviously we've now broken over this upper level of choppiness, and we are coming back to backtest it as potential support. So knowing that there's been a lot of volume traded in this area, and that we've just recently ripped beyond it, would not be surprised if we came back to backtest these previous tops. So that being said, you're probably wondering, well, why am I going to scale in so deep? I want to scale in deep because I prefer to have conservative entries. I want the value plays. I don't really care if I miss it. If this comes back and it just taps the 236 and then just runs, that's fine. I don't really lose anything. This trade took all of 2 minutes to set up, so no big deal. I just want all of my criteria to be met, which is hourly oversold conditions into an area of previous price action support, and I can use my daily 12 and 26 EMA as a guide, and you can see it would encompass the 12 and 26 in a more conservative fashion. If it were to come down, these EMAs would not have so much slope, and if when price comes down to meet the EMA as opposed to going sideways and letting the EMA catch up, it's more likely, I should say, that it'll wick a little bit beyond it. And so I just want to use 3 scales and have my third scale in a place where price would be really, really extreme on the hourly RSI. At that point, we'd probably be in the teens. And considering how this was such an aggressive runner, I would be fine with doing my shopping down there. On the 5-minute time frame going into the end of the day, the bulls did change the trend going into the end of the day, so we can be confident that this hourly low is in. However, an hourly lower high compared to 74.62 is the most likely scenario. You can see we got this bear cross today, and wow, that beauty short that I did not recognize. I was not paying attention, but this purple dotted line here is the previous day's close. It's often a very significant level, because if you think about it, right, the closes are really important. For price to continue going up, it has to close above the previous close. So it makes sense that that level is often defended against. So beautiful short against high of day and pivot. Did not see that. What was I doing at this time? 1040. No idea. Alrighty then, JKS. JKS on the, wow. Okay, so very impressive. I mentioned before how JKS is kind of an odd bird in that, oh, first I should say there's no daily consolidation yet, no sign of daily consolidation yet. And if we zoom into the hourly time frame, you can see what I was talking about, where it had these really big drops. It's probably had the most downside on these days in the sector, and yet it rips to new highs even harder. So kind of an odd bird, tricky one to short. I wouldn't get queued on this one. Just be patient. Wait for a big old hourly move to position off of a lower high, like over here, even if it was to just get higher highs. That's not the most likely situation most of the time. Okay, so let's see here. Looks like we have a bit of a channel we can be watching. So we have a bit of a channel that we can be watching. Looks like it's been in play a bit earlier. Something more inclusive. Include all of the data. I think that's good. So right now we are struggling with this local channel's median line, and I will say that the channel slope is practically 45 degrees. It's a very aggressive, price action, very bullish for now. Whenever we pull back, we will just be looking for an hourly higher low over the low of pre-market, really, which was 61.02. There is plenty of space for bulls to set that higher low. Still 10% away from that level. So I would be interested potentially here to bottom fish this channel. It's very interesting because it looks like TAN is potentially done with its daily consolidation, trying to confirm that hourly bull flag. And if that is the case and JKS has remained strong, then maybe it can eke out a bit more upside as well. So if TAN is going to be strong tomorrow, then I would have no problem bottom fishing these levels and this channel and the 12 and 26 EMA for a potential hourly higher low. So I will just do my handy dandy fib retracement tool. I will look at for 5-minute RSI oversold conditions. I can see that they would start right around here. And so I would have no problem scaling into something like this. No problem at all. I would feel fine with that, and I would just be looking to test the upper boundary, of the channel. And typically when you get a inability to get to the top of the channel, it's a sign of weakness. And so I would definitely look to take profit at the median line, because as you can see, it's a very significant level. It gets tested very often. If the trend is going to remain strong, then price needs to get above the median line and stay above it. You can see it's very meaningful level of moving support or resistance. Okay, so let's see some warning signs maybe, or does this look kind of wedgy? Let's see here. Maybe starting to look a bit wedgy, but for now bulls are still okay, looking for that healthy hourly higher low. And you can see here how the PDC came into play as well. Let's see. Oh, let me clean this up a bit. Okay, so you can see the purple line. Remember that purple line is the PDC. The bears tried to break below it, tried to get out of the channel held, went back to back test it, held again, and finally it just started ripping after that. The intraday pivot here, so a nice area of confluence, a very reasonable place to start basing. CSIQ, I don't know if I'm speaking slower. Let's run long. All right, CSIQ, I believe what we were looking for, I don't know what this is. Yeah, I should just hide it. Not delete. CSIQ setting that daily higher low now at 37.06, and we just want to zoom in and confirm that on the hourly time frame. Yes, that hourly trend did change. I believe it changed the other day. We were looking for a higher low here, but price just went sideways all day today, and so I guess we could be looking for a 4-hour higher low whenever this consolidation begins. Same thing with this PDC. You can see how it was acting as a very significant level today with 1, 2, 3 bounces right off of it. I'm telling you, it's a good level to play off of. So we just have this sideways chop going into the end of the day. I don't really find this trend change terribly meaningful unless we can see some follow through over all of these tops. Let's see. What else can we say about TAN? So major resistance is just going to be 40.37. bulls will ideally hold this low of 39.08 and break to new highs over 40.37 to see some more daily bounce all through. SEDG. SEDG, so it's pretty much a pennant. We've been watching this hourly EQ go on for quite some time now, and we're just continuing to tighten in this range. Would not be surprised tomorrow by some continued downside to look for a higher low over this shelf over here. To stay within this EQ, I would say maybe we can tighten up for another 1 to 3 trading days before anticipating some kind of break. And if TAN were to break bullish, then I would be a lot more comfortable bottom fishing these lows. So that being said, we are just looking for an hourly higher low over this pre-market low of 294.03, and we want to do that in 5-minute oversold conditions. And so let's see where that might be, and that would be around right around $300 psychological. And you can see there were multiple bottoms, or rather there was a congestion zone, a bunch of congestion here as well. So not a bad place to start looking for a potential hourly higher low in 5-minute oversold conditions. Again, you can see how the PDC came into play here. It kind of acted as a magnet at the beginning of the day, and then it tries to break away out of this EQ bullish. We come back, we back test it, hold it, and then the bulls are off to the races for a little bit into the end of the day. They're off for a run. What a segue. All right, run on the daily time frame, potentially looking like a bit of a, I don't love it as a bear flag, only because an idealized flag would have a bit of upward slope. There are plenty of textbooks that will say that these sloped, I guess, directionally with the previous trend, slope is okay, and I'm not going to argue with you. By all means, call it whatever you like. I think the potential of us zooming in to find something of an hourly wedge is pretty likely, just because we have this rundown to where all this previous price action was. And so it's like a membrane. It's like a membrane of support here, right? And you need a lot of volume to get through it. So let's see what we're looking out for. And run, by the way, is one of the few names that changed the daily trend bearish. So relatively weaker name out of the sector. There's a bit of a wedge we can dig out. I guess maybe not. Let's see here. Maybe if we go there. Not really. Not really. So I'll eat my words there. If anything, it's more of a channel. Anyway, let's see here. So trade that we highlighted played out in after hours. I'm sorry, in extended hours yesterday. And so the bears, oh wow, the bulls never changed the trend. Bulls did not change the trend, even though they made a lot of space for a higher low. That higher low was only good for this lower high in PM. And then we broke to lower lows. And so you could say that that is, yeah, the bulls are kind of disappointed today. Could not even hold the higher low into a tightening EQ pattern. Very interesting. So Sunrun, something is going on with Sunrun. If I had to pick like I guess the strongest name, it would be JKS, who continues to rip higher. And then Run is probably the weakest name. We don't know what's going on with Run, but that's a lot of space that the bulls had that they could have attempted a trend change off of. Now, that being said, tomorrow, if we were to break 64.79 with some follow through, this TD resistance here on the hourly time frame, I would not be against a potential higher low play off of that. But for us to see that, we want to see the bulls hold this low. This is the most important low of 60.40. Break to new highs, get some follow through over this hourly TD resistance, come back, and I would have no problem back testing the 12 and 26 EMA, maybe using the fibs as my guide. I would just like that. And of course, always checking in 5-minute RSI conditions. All right, so that's the solar sector. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you all soon. Not all of you. Some of you won't be back. I will see some of you soon.